My name is Todd Allen, and I'll be presenting on the whistleblower James Alderson. In my presentation, I'll discuss Mr. Alderson's background and the situation that led him to blow the whistle. I'll also discuss the steps Mr. Alderson took as part of the 7-step process presented by Trevino and Nelson. And last, I'll discuss the consequences of being a whistleblower. Mr. Alderson was raised in Montana and attended Montana State University, where he earned a degree in accounting. He then began his work with Arthur Anderson as an accountant and realized he wanted a slower pace of life, so he opened up his own accounting practice in Whitefish, Montana. Shortly thereafter, he was approached by a hospital and offered a financial officer position at the hospital. He worked there for a few years, and then the top administrator left the hospital. And so the hospital turned to a large health administrative corporation, Quorum, to be the administrators of the hospital. This is where the situation of why Mr. Alderson blew the whistle. Mr. Evers, a top manager of the administrative corporation, came to him and asked him to prepare 2 cost reports. One, which would inflate the expenses that the government would have to reimburse the hospital for, and then create a cost report that had the actual figures just in case they were audited. Mr. Alderson told Mr. Evers he would not be willing to do that, and he will not create 2 cost reports because that is unethical. Shortly thereafter, Mr. Alderson was dismissed. Upon his dismissal, Mr. Alderson began his pursuit to blow the whistle on these large health administrators of overcharging the government. Mr. Alderson couldn't follow the 7 steps exactly that Trevino and Nelson described. He had to go about it a different way. He wasn't able to go to his manager or to the next level of management or around the chain of command, which are steps 1, 3, and 5. He had to go because of the situation. He went directly to Mr. Evers, who he was speaking with, who was a top level manager of the administrative corporation. And he let him know he was unwilling to make 2 cost reports. And because of that, he was dismissed. But he stood up he blew the whistle immediately, which I believe is an action that sometimes you need to take. He also wasn't able to follow steps 2 and 7 because he was dismissed, so he couldn't leave the company in step 7. And 2, he wasn't able to discuss with his family until after he was dismissed. And upon his dismissal, he did discuss the financial situation that his family would be in, as well as what he needed to do to blow the whistle on these large health corporations. But he was able to follow step 6, which is going outside the company. He went to the judicial system and filed a qui tam case, which is a false claims case on behalf of the government. And in his pursuit of this lawsuit, it demanded a lot of time and a lot of research to find evidence, as well as many spreadsheets to compile the evidence. He contacted lawyers to help them, and eventually the FBI got on board, and the government became a co-plaintiff in the lawsuit. And ultimately, the courts ruled in his behalf, as well as the government's. And these large corporations were brought down, and their overcharging the government was divulged. Unfortunately, being a whistleblower has many consequences. A lot of them negative, some of them positive. Mr. Alderson's family relationships with his kids was affected. He wasn't able to attend any of his son's sporting events. He wasn't able to spend time with his daughter like he wanted to. His family relationships took a big hit because he was a whistleblower. Next, financial situation. He had to take lower paying jobs because he stood up for what he believed. Next, his family and friendships had a big disconnect because his family and friends were not able to know what was going on. He couldn't let them know that he was filing this lawsuit and know the evidence that he was finding. And last, the consequence that I believe is the most important, which is a positive consequence, is that he was able to maintain his integrity because he blew the whistle. He stood up for what he believed in. And we, as accountants, future professionals, need to look at his example and realize he is a hero. Mr. Alderson is an exemplar of what it means to have moral courage.